Behaving as though you're the greatest isn't rooted in arrogance. It stems from unwavering certainty. It's about presenting yourself with the type of assurance that signals to everyone around you that you deserve to be at the pinnacle. The majority of individuals feel uneasy with this concept. They've been conditioned to remain modest, to keep silent, and to prevent appearing overconfident. However, the reality is that those who achieve success at the most elevated levels aren't the ones who diminish themselves. They're the individuals who claim their territory. They're the ones who enter every space radiating the energy of someone who understands their rightful place there. And this is precisely why they ascend, while others disappear into obscurity. True confidence isn't about volume, it's about understanding precisely who you are and the value you contribute. It's about approaching any circumstance with the belief that you're ready, that you're competent, that you're the finest choice available. Many individuals pause because they fear appearing ridiculous. They worry about making errors. They're concerned about judgment. But the truth remains that those who climb to the summit aren't the ones who never stumble. They're the individuals who aren't paralyzed by the possibility of action when outcomes remain unclear. They're the ones who don't wait for authorization, they grant themselves permission. This self-assurance is what keeps them victorious while others remain trapped. Conducting yourself as the best doesn't imply believing you're flawless. It means believing you're equipped to solve problems. It means having faith in your capacity to manage whatever challenges arise. Most individuals remain stuck because they're waiting to feel prepared. They convince themselves that once they gain more experience, once they feel more equipped, once they develop more confidence, then they'll act. But that moment never arrives. Confidence doesn't emerge from having all the answers. It develops from taking action despite uncertainty. Those who succeed understand this principle. They're the ones who appear before feeling ready. They're the ones who voice their thoughts before having complete information. They're the ones who step into the arena despite the possibility of failure. This willingness to act is what elevates them, while others hold themselves back. Many people feel uncomfortable with the idea of considering themselves the best. They worry it will make them conceited. They fear others will judge them. But the truth is, people are already forming judgments about you. People are already developing opinions about you. So you might as well give them a reason to respect you. You might as well present yourself with the confidence of someone who knows they deserve success. Those who succeed aren't the ones worried about perception. They're the ones focused on showing up completely, performing at the highest standard, and bringing their excellence to every situation. That's why they win. Confidence isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about trusting yourself to manage whatever occurs. It's about knowing that even if you fail, even if you face rejection, even if things don't unfold as planned, you possess the ability to adjust, adapt, and continue forward. Most people never develop this degree of confidence because they're too concentrated on avoiding failure. They remain in their safety zone. They avoid situations where they might be vulnerable. That's why they never grow. But those who succeed understand that confidence is like a muscle. The more you place yourself in challenging situations, the more you train yourself to operate under pressure, the stronger your confidence becomes. Over time, that confidence becomes unshakable. Behaving as though you're the best isn't about superiority over others. It's about improvement over your former self. It's about carrying yourself with the type of certainty that comes from knowing you've invested the effort, that you've prepared, that you're willing to do what others won't. Most people don't present themselves this way because they don't trust themselves. They know they've been inconsistent. They know they've broken commitments to themselves. That's why their confidence is fragile. But those who succeed have built their confidence through action. They've shown up consistently. They've tackled difficult tasks. They've honored their commitments. That's why they carry themselves with certainty. Because they've earned it. Acting as though you're the best means showing up as the person you know you can become, even before you have evidence that you belong at that level. It means speaking with authority even while you're still learning. It means moving with confidence even when surrounded by people with more experience. It means trusting yourself even while you're still figuring things out. Those who succeed aren't necessarily the ones who have everything figured out. They're the ones willing to act with confidence while they figure it out. This mindset is why they rise. So the question becomes, are you willing to act as if you're the best? Are you willing to walk into every room with the energy of someone who knows they deserve to be there? Are you willing to speak with confidence even when you're uncertain? Are you willing to trust yourself even when there's no guarantee of success? Because the truth is, those who succeed aren't the ones who wait until they feel ready. They're the ones who act before they feel ready. That's why they win. Conducting yourself as the best begins with your mindset. Most people navigate life with a passive, reactive mentality. They allow their environment to determine how they feel. If people around them are supportive, they feel confident. If people criticize them, they shrink. If things are going well, they feel motivated. If things are challenging, they become discouraged. But the truth is, genuine confidence doesn't come from external validation. It comes from within. Those who succeed at the highest level aren't the ones who wait for permission to feel confident. They create it for themselves. They walk into every situation with the mindset that they're prepared, they're capable, and they're ready to deliver. Because they believe that about themselves, the world begins to reflect it back to them. Your mindset shapes how you show up. If you believe you're not good enough, you will hesitate. If you believe you're not ready, you will hold back. If you believe you're not capable, you will play small. When you play small, you reinforce that belief. But the opposite is also true. If you tell yourself that you're capable, that you're prepared, that you deserve success, you will operate with a different level of confidence. You will speak with more authority. You will take more risks. You will put yourself in situations where success is possible. Over time, you will build the kind of self-trust that allows you to stay composed under pressure. The mind can be programmed. Most people's confidence is weak because they've been programming themselves to think small for years. They've trained themselves to expect failure, to expect rejection, to expect disappointment. Because they expect those things, they manifest them. But those who succeed have trained their mind differently. They've conditioned themselves to expect success. They've programmed their brain to believe that they deserve to win, that they're prepared, that they've earned the right to operate at the highest level. Because they expect success, they attract it. Their mindset creates a feedback loop that keeps them performing at a high level while everyone else is doubting themselves. Confidence starts with the thoughts you allow into your mind. Most people sabotage their confidence because they entertain thoughts that weaken them. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. What if I fail? What will people think? Those thoughts become their reality. They hesitate. They overthink. They hold back. But those who succeed have trained themselves to reject those thoughts. They built mental filters that block out anything that weakens their confidence. When doubt creeps in, they override it with certainty. When fear shows up, they meet it with self-belief. When things get hard, they remind themselves that they're built for this. Because they control their thoughts, they control their actions. The mind follows the body, and the body follows the mind. If you want to change how you feel, you need to change how you think and how you carry yourself. Most people sabotage their own confidence with weak body language. They slouch. They avoid eye contact. They speak softly. They carry themselves like someone who doesn't believe they belong at the table. Because they carry themselves that way, people treat them that way. But those who succeed carry themselves differently. They walk with their chest up. They make eye contact. They speak with clarity. They sit with presence. They move through the world like someone who knows they belong. Because they carry themselves with confidence, people treat them with respect. Your mind and your body are connected. When you carry yourself like you're confident, your mind starts to believe it. When you speak with authority, your brain registers that you have something valuable to say. When you move through the world with certainty, your mind starts to adjust to that reality. Most people are waiting to feel confident before they start carrying themselves with confidence. But that's backward. If you carry yourself with confidence first, your mind will catch up. That's how you train yourself to operate at a high level, even when you don't feel ready. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who never experience fear. They're the ones who have trained themselves to act despite fear. They understand that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to move forward in the presence of fear. Most people hesitate because they're waiting for fear to go away. They tell themselves that once they feel confident, once they feel ready, once they feel less nervous, then they will take action. But that moment never comes. Fear never fully disappears. Those who succeed are the ones who take action even when they're scared. They've trained themselves to recognize fear as a signal that they're stepping into growth. Because they've conditioned themselves to act despite fear, they build unshakable confidence. Confidence is built through repetition. You don't become confident by thinking about being confident. You become confident by taking action. Most people are stuck because they're overthinking. They're waiting for the perfect time. They're looking for the perfect strategy. But those who succeed know that confidence is built through movement. Every time you put yourself in a difficult situation and you come out stronger, you build confidence. Every time you face a challenge and you handle it, you build confidence. Every time you execute under pressure, you build confidence. Over time, that confidence compounds. Success isn't about talent, it's about certainty. Most people are held back by doubt. They second-guess themselves, they hesitate. That hesitation costs them opportunities. But those who succeed are the ones who trust themselves. They make decisions quickly. They act decisively. They're not reckless, but they're not stuck in analysis either. They've trained themselves to trust their instincts. That ability to operate with certainty gives them a massive edge over people who are stuck in hesitation. This is why acting like you're the best is so powerful. When you carry yourself with certainty, you change how people perceive you. You change how they respond to you. Most people are looking for someone to follow. They're looking for someone who seems certain. They're drawn to people who speak with authority, who make decisions with confidence, who carry themselves like leaders. When you act as if you're the best, people start to treat you like the best. They start to respect your opinions. They start to follow your lead. That creates a cycle of confidence and influence that elevates you to the next level. So the question is, are you willing to start acting like you belong at the top? Are you willing to speak with authority, even when you feel uncertain? Are you willing to trust yourself even when you don't have all the answers? Are you willing to carry yourself with confidence even when you feel insecure? Because the truth is, those who succeed aren't the ones who are fearless. They're the ones who have trained themselves to act confidently in the presence of fear. That's why they win. Acting like you're the best requires a different level of self-talk. Most people sabotage themselves with the way they speak to themselves. They fill their mind with doubt, fear, and insecurity. They replay past failures. They magnify their weaknesses. They tell themselves stories about why they're not good enough. Because they repeat those thoughts, they start to believe them. But those who succeed have trained themselves to talk to themselves differently. They've conditioned their inner dialogue to reinforce their confidence, not weaken it. They speak to themselves with the same certainty and encouragement that a great coach would give to an athlete. That internal dialogue becomes the foundation for their success. Most people speak to themselves in a way they would never speak to another person. They criticize themselves, they tear themselves down, they dwell on their mistakes, they call themselves weak, lazy, unprepared. Then they wonder why their confidence is so fragile. But the truth is, your mind is always listening. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, your mind will start looking for evidence to confirm that belief. If you tell yourself you're not ready, your mind will start finding reasons why you're not prepared. Your brain is wired to reinforce whatever story you tell it. That's why self-talk is so powerful, because it shapes your perception of reality. Those who succeed are the ones who have trained their mind to reinforce their confidence, not destroy it. They speak to themselves like a champion. I've got this. I'm prepared. I'm capable. Even if I fail, I'll figure it out. They're not blind to their weaknesses, but they don't allow their weaknesses to control them. They know that confidence isn't about ignoring flaws. It's about trusting their ability to handle whatever comes their way. Because they reinforce that belief through their self-talk, they operate with unshakable confidence. Most people think confidence comes from external validation. They think that if other people approve of them, if other people respect them, if other people praise them, they will feel more confident. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. If your confidence is dependent on how other people treat you, it will always be fragile. Those who succeed have trained themselves to generate confidence internally. They've built a foundation of self-belief that doesn't require external approval. That's why they're able to stay confident even when they're criticized, even when they're doubted, even when things aren't going their way. Self-talk isn't just about positivity, it's about truth. Telling yourself that you're the best doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means focusing on the parts of reality that empower you. If you've put in the work, if you've prepared, if you've stayed disciplined, why wouldn't you trust yourself? Why wouldn't you believe that you're ready? Most people downplay their strengths. They focus on what they lack instead of what they have. But those who succeed focus on what they've built. They focus on the hours they've put in. They focus on the discipline they've developed. Because they focus on their strengths, they operate from a place of confidence instead of insecurity. Confidence isn't about knowing you will win. It's about knowing that you can handle whatever happens. Most people hesitate because they're afraid of the outcome. They're afraid of losing. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of looking foolish. But those who succeed aren't immune to fear. They've just trained themselves to trust their ability to recover. They tell themselves, even if this doesn't work out, I'll figure it out. Even if I fail, I'll get back up. Even if I get rejected, I'll adjust. That mindset frees them from hesitation. It allows them to take action without the weight of fear holding them back. That ability to act with confidence even when there's no guarantee of success is why they keep winning. Most people talk to themselves like victims. They blame circumstances, they blame other people, they blame bad luck. Because they reinforce that victim mentality through their self-talk, they feel powerless. But those who succeed talk to themselves like winners. They take full ownership of their results. They tell themselves, if I succeed, happen. If I fail, it's because I need to adjust. They refuse to give their power away. They refuse to let outside forces dictate their success. Because they've conditioned their mind to take ownership, they take action with confidence and control. Your self-talk determines your emotional state. If you tell yourself that you're not prepared, you will feel anxious. If you tell yourself that you're not good enough, you will feel insecure. But if you tell yourself that you're prepared, that you're capable, that you're built for this, you will feel powerful. When you feel powerful, you act with more certainty. You speak with more authority. You take more decisive action. That creates momentum. That creates results. That creates a cycle of confidence that keeps building on itself. Most people are stuck because their inner dialogue is stuck. They tell themselves the same limiting stories over and over again. They tell themselves that they're not good enough, that they're not ready, that they're not capable. Those stories become their reality. But those who succeed are the ones who rewrite the story. They take control of their inner dialogue. They start telling themselves a different story. They tell themselves that they're ready, that they're prepared, that they've earned the right to win. Because they reinforce that belief through their self-talk, they start operating at a higher level. This is why most people never succeed, because they never fix their self-talk. They keep reinforcing weakness instead of strength. They keep magnifying their insecurities instead of their strengths. They keep looking for reasons why they can't succeed instead of looking for reasons why they can. But the 2% who succeed are the ones who take control of their inner dialogue. They train themselves to talk like winners. They tell themselves that they're ready. They tell themselves that they're capable. They tell themselves that they deserve to win. That internal certainty creates external results. Acting like you're the best means speaking to yourself like you are the best. It means reinforcing your strengths instead of your weaknesses. It means focusing on the work you put in instead of the areas where you're still growing. Most people are so focused on where they're lacking that they never give themselves credit for how far they've come. But those who succeed are the ones who understand that confidence comes from self-trust. If you've done the work, if you've prepared, if you've stayed disciplined, why wouldn't you trust yourself? Why wouldn't you believe that you're ready? Why wouldn't you operate with the mindset that you've earned the right to succeed? So ask yourself, what story are you telling yourself? Are you reinforcing your strengths, or are you magnifying your weaknesses? Are you telling yourself that you're prepared, or are you convincing yourself that you're not ready? Because the truth is, the story you tell yourself becomes your reality. Those who succeed are the ones who have trained themselves to tell a story that makes them stronger, not weaker. They've conditioned themselves to believe that they're ready, even when they don't feel ready. Because they operate with that mindset, they keep winning. Acting like you're the best requires a higher standard of execution. Most people want to succeed, but they operate at an average level. They want to be treated like the best, but they're not putting in the kind of work that deserves that level of respect. They're showing up inconsistently. They're doing the bare minimum. They're cutting corners. Then they wonder why they're not getting the results they want. But the truth is, those who succeed aren't operating at an average level. They're executing with precision, intensity, and consistency. They're holding themselves to a standard that most people aren't willing to match. That's why they win while everyone else stays stuck. Most people underestimate the level of work it takes to succeed at the highest level. They think that if they work hard for a few weeks, they should see massive results. They think that if they put in a little extra effort, everything should change overnight. But success doesn't work like that. Success comes from sustained excellence, not occasional effort. It comes from showing up every single day, not just when you feel motivated. It comes from executing at a high level even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated, even when no one is watching. Most people aren't built for that. They're too focused on how they feel instead of what needs to be done. But the 2% who succeed, they're the ones who have trained themselves to execute regardless of how they feel. That's why they keep winning. Most people are held back by inconsistency. They have moments of high effort followed by stretches of laziness. They get motivated for a few days, but as soon as they face resistance, they back off. They show up strong when things are easy, but they disappear when things get difficult. That's why they never break through. Success isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. Anyone can work hard for a week or a month, but those who succeed are the ones who can stay locked in for years. They're the ones who show up at the same level day after day, year after year, regardless of how they feel, regardless of what's happening around them. That level of consistency creates separation over time. Those who succeed at the highest level are the ones who are obsessed with the details. Most people are casual with their work. They show up, but they're distracted. They do the work, but they're not focused. They go through the motions instead of being locked in. But the 2% who succeed, they're different. They're not just working hard, they're working intelligently. They're refining their craft. They're studying the game. They're analyzing their performance. They're finding small ways to improve every single day. Because they're focused on the details, they keep leveling up while everyone else stays stagnant. Excellence isn't a one-time event, it's a habit. Most people think that success is about big wins. They think that if they land a big opportunity or get a lucky break, everything will change. But success isn't built on big wins, it's built on small daily execution. It's built on doing the work when no one is watching. It's built on showing up with intensity even when you're not seeing immediate results. The 2% who succeed aren't the ones who are waiting for a breakthrough. They're the ones who are building momentum through relentless execution. Because they stay consistent long enough, the breakthrough eventually comes. Most people make the mistake of focusing on the outcome instead of the process. They're obsessed with results. They want to see progress right away. When they don't see it, they get discouraged. They lose motivation. They start questioning themselves. But those who succeed have trained themselves to focus on the work, not the outcome. They're not trying to control the results, they're trying to control their execution. They know that if they execute at a high level consistently, the results will take care of themselves. That ability to stay focused on the process instead of the outcome allows them to stay locked in even when the results aren't showing up yet. Most people want to succeed, but they're not willing to refine their craft. They're not willing to put in the extra hours to master the details. They're not willing to study their performance and adjust their approach. They're not willing to face uncomfortable feedback and make corrections. But the 2% who succeed, they're obsessed with improvement. They're constantly looking for ways to sharpen their skills. They're not satisfied with being good. They're focused on becoming elite. They're not interested in being above average. They're committed to mastery. That obsession with improvement is why they keep separating themselves from everyone else. High-level execution requires discipline. Most people only work hard when they feel motivated, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Those who succeed aren't dependent on motivation. They're driven by discipline. They've built habits that allow them to execute even when they're tired, even when they're bored, even when they're under pressure. They've trained themselves to show up and perform at a high level regardless of how they feel. That consistency is what creates separation over time. Most people think success is about talent. They think that those who succeed are naturally gifted. But that's not true. Talent might give you a head start, but execution is what determines who wins in the long run. Those who succeed aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who execute with the highest level of focus and consistency. They're the ones who have trained themselves to stay locked in when others are distracted. They're the ones who have trained themselves to keep working when others are quitting. Because they execute at a higher level for a longer period of time, they create massive separation over time. Most people can't handle the level of consistency that success requires. They want variety. They want excitement. They want to feel inspired all the time. But success isn't about excitement. It's about repetition. It's about doing the same thing at a high level over and over again. It's about executing even when it's boring, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels like nothing is working. The 2% who succeed are the ones who have mastered the art of repetition. They've trained themselves to keep showing up even when it's not exciting. Because they stay consistent long enough, they build momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. So ask yourself, are you executing at the highest level? Are you showing up consistently? Or are you working hard only when you feel motivated? Are you refining your craft, or are you just going through the motions? Are you focused on the details, or are you operating at a surface level? Because the truth is, success isn't about talent, it's about consistency. It's about execution. It's about showing up at a high level every single day, even when you're not seeing immediate results. Those who succeed are the ones who have trained themselves to execute at a level that most people can't match. That's why they win. Because they do the work that most people aren't willing to do. Acting like you're the best requires a different level of presence. Most people go through life distracted. They're physically present but mentally scattered. Their mind is jumping between thoughts, worrying about the future, dwelling on the past, reacting to what other people are saying and doing. Because they're not fully present, they're not performing at their highest level. But those who succeed at the highest level are the ones who have mastered the art of presence. They've trained themselves to lock in fully on the moment in front of them. That level of focus allows them to operate with precision, clarity, and confidence while everyone else is distracted. Presence is a competitive advantage. Most people can't stay focused for more than a few minutes without getting distracted by random thoughts. Their attention is fragmented. Their energy is scattered. They're constantly reacting to the environment instead of controlling it. But the 2% who succeed have conditioned themselves to stay locked in for long periods of time. When they work, they're fully immersed. When they speak, they're fully present. When they perform, they're locked into the moment. That ability to stay focused gives them an edge in every situation. Presence is about more than focus. It's about certainty. Most people hesitate because their mind is split between different thoughts. They're worried about how they're being perceived. They're thinking about the outcome. They're over-analyzing every move. But those who succeed have trained themselves to operate with single-minded focus. They're not thinking about what people are going to say. They're not thinking about how things might turn out. They're focused on the action in front of them. They're committed to execution. That level of focus allows them to operate with confidence and power. Most people sabotage themselves because they're constantly second-guessing their own decisions. They take one step forward, then hesitate. They speak up, then pull back. They make a decision, then immediately start questioning it. That hesitation creates weakness. It creates uncertainty. But the 2% who succeed have eliminated hesitation from their mind. They make decisions quickly. They take action with certainty. They don't allow themselves to dwell on whether or not it was the right decision. They commit fully to the path in front of them. That ability to operate without hesitation gives them massive leverage over everyone else. Presence creates authority. People are naturally drawn to people who carry themselves with certainty. Most people are uncomfortable with uncertainty, so when they see someone who is focused, grounded, and composed, they naturally look to them for leadership. The 2% who succeed are the ones who have mastered this energy. They're not trying to impress anyone, they're simply present. They speak with clarity because they're not overthinking. They carry themselves with confidence because they're not distracted. They walk into every room with the energy of someone who knows they belong there. Because they've trained themselves to stay present, they project strength even when they're under pressure. Most people try to appear confident by talking more, doing more, trying to control the situation. But real confidence comes from stillness. It comes from knowing that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. It comes from knowing that you're prepared, that you're capable, that you've put in the work. The 2% who succeed aren't the ones who are talking the most. They're the ones who have mastered the ability to stay calm under pressure. They're the ones who listen more than they speak. They're the ones who control their breathing, control their body language, control their emotional state. Because they project that calm energy, they naturally command respect. Presence isn't about trying to control everything. It's about being fully locked into the moment. Most people are constantly thinking about what might happen next. They're trying to predict the future. They're worried about things that are outside of their control. But those who succeed have trained themselves to focus only on what they can control. They're not thinking about how other people are going to react. They're not trying to control the outcome. They're focused on the action in front of them. They're focused on executing at a high level. That ability to stay present gives them power over the situation. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. They feel the need to fill every gap in conversation, to say something, to react to every situation. But those who succeed are comfortable with silence. They're comfortable with stillness. They understand that power comes from composure. They don't feel the need to react to every situation. They know that control comes from presence, from stillness, from not allowing the environment to dictate their emotional state. That ability to stay calm under pressure creates massive leverage in every situation. Presence is about controlling your internal state. Most people allow the external environment to control how they feel. If things are going well, they feel confident. If things are going badly, they feel insecure. If people are supportive, they feel motivated. If people are critical, they feel discouraged. But the 2% who succeed have trained themselves to control their emotional state from the inside out. They stay calm even when things are chaotic. They stay focused even when they're under pressure. They stay grounded even when people are doubting them. Because they've trained themselves to stay composed, they project strength even when the situation is uncertain. Most people get thrown off course by distractions. They're focused for a little while, but as soon as something unexpected happens, they lose momentum. They get discouraged. They start questioning themselves. But those who succeed have trained themselves to stay locked in even when things aren't going as planned. They understand that distractions are inevitable. They understand that pressure is part of the process. Because they expect those challenges, they're not thrown off when they happen. They stay locked in. They stay composed. Because they maintain that presence under pressure, they're able to keep executing at a high level while everyone else is falling apart. Presence creates momentum. When you stay locked in the moment, you start to build flow. You start to operate with less resistance. You stop overthinking. You stop hesitating. Because you're fully immersed in the process, your performance starts to rise. Most people are stuck because they never reach this level of flow. They're constantly interrupting their own momentum with overthinking, hesitation, and self-doubt. But those who succeed are the ones who have trained themselves to stay fully locked in. They're the ones who have mastered the ability to operate with full focus, full intensity, full clarity. That ability to stay locked in allows them to create massive separation over time. Acting like you're the best means mastering the art of presence. It means walking into every situation with the energy of someone who knows they belong. It means speaking with clarity, because you're not second guessing yourself. It means listening with full focus because you're not distracted. It means moving through the world with the kind of calm authority that makes people trust you, listen to you, and respect you. Those who succeed are the ones who have mastered that energy. They're the ones who have trained themselves to stay grounded even when things are chaotic. That ability to stay present under pressure creates massive leverage in every situation. Acting like you're the best requires emotional control. Most people are controlled by their emotions. If they feel motivated, they work hard. If they feel discouraged, they stop. If they feel confident, they perform well. If they feel insecure, they hesitate. But those who succeed at the highest level aren't controlled by their emotions. They've trained themselves to execute regardless of how they feel. They've built the ability to stay composed under pressure. They've trained themselves to stay focused even when they're frustrated. They've conditioned themselves to stay calm even when things aren't going their way. That emotional control allows them to operate at a high level while everyone else is breaking down. Most people allow their emotional state to dictate their behavior. If they feel tired, they give themselves permission to slack off. If they feel frustrated, they give themselves permission to quit. If they feel insecure, they give themselves permission to play small. But those who succeed have eliminated that pattern from their mind. They've trained themselves to separate feelings from execution. It doesn't matter how they feel. They execute anyway. It doesn't matter if they're tired. They follow through anyway. It doesn't matter if they're discouraged. They stick to the plan anyway. That ability to separate emotions from action allows them to build momentum while everyone else is trapped in cycles of inconsistency. Emotional control starts with awareness. Most people aren't even aware of how their emotions are controlling them. They're reacting automatically. They're following their feelings without question. If they feel anxious, they hesitate. If they feel discouraged, they withdraw. If they feel frustrated, they lash out. But those who succeed have developed the ability to observe their emotions without reacting to them. They notice the feeling of doubt, but they don't let it stop them. They notice the feeling of frustration, but they don't allow it to control their actions. They've created a gap between feeling and response. That gap gives them power over their behavior. Most people think emotional control means not feeling anything. They think it means suppressing emotions, ignoring them, or pretending they don't exist. But that's not true. Emotional control isn't about avoiding emotions, it's about responding to them in a way that serves you. Those who succeed aren't emotionless. They feel fear, doubt, frustration, and anger just like everyone else. But they've trained themselves to respond with strength instead of weakness. They've trained themselves to operate with composure instead of reactivity. They don't suppress their emotions. They control how they respond to them. That ability to stay composed under pressure gives them a massive advantage. Fear is the emotion that stops most people from succeeding. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of looking foolish. Because they allow that fear to control them, they hold back. They hesitate. They stay in their comfort zone. But those who succeed have mastered their relationship with fear. They've trained themselves to act in spite of it. They've trained themselves to step toward fear instead of away from it. That ability to take action while feeling afraid gives them massive separation over time. Most people will never break through because they're waiting for fear to disappear. But those who succeed are the ones who have learned to move forward even when fear is present. Frustration is another emotion that destroys most people's progress. When things aren't working, when results aren't coming fast enough, when set